Welcome to the ACS podcast family.
We're your hosts, Angie and Charlene,
where every week you can find new material centered around your life.
Thanks for joining us on our journey. Hello. Welcome back. We are so excited to be talking to you about mindset in October. So we are on week 1, episode 10, and we're just going to jump right in to how we talk about ourselves.
Mindset is huge and can be a stumbling block for what we can accomplish, or it can help us achieve greatness in our lives for whatever it is that we're going after. So getting your mindset right is the first step in that process. It's even more important than any action that you can take. So really jumping into that and talking about how we talk about ourselves and the language that we use is super important.
So how we talk about ourselves, like that is something that has been a really tough lesson for me to learn. And that actually all came into perspective when I heard somebody else talking about themselves. And when they were talking about themselves and they were bringing themselves down, it made me so frustrated to hear them talk about themselves in a negative light because I loved them so much that I hated that somebody else was saying something bad. Turn that all back around and put it on me. If I don't want somebody talking bad about somebody I love, shouldn't I be talking better about myself to myself? Because I should love myself at some point in life. When I make mistakes, I literally have talked outside. Great job, Charlene. Like that was a real winner there. Good job. And now I'm like, that's bad. I'm literally verbally saying things to bring myself down that I hear and then my subconscious hears. It doesn't matter that it's my voice saying it. It's just like somebody else bringing me down.
One thing that somebody told me once that was so enlightening is your subconscious doesn't have a sense of humor. It believes whatever information you feed it. And so when we make jokes or when we use sarcasm to berate ourselves or to knock ourselves down or to make other people laugh about what we're going through, that's really stuff that we're pushing into our subconscious and is shifting our mindset to think negative thoughts about ourselves and talk about ourselves negatively. Words are so powerful. So that's a great life lesson.
Mm-hmm. Well, even when I was a little kid, I learned this lesson very hard. If I made other people laugh, then I didn't feel bad when they were laughing at me because they were laughing with me. So when I would do something stupid, I would point it out in hopes to make somebody laugh. So then I didn't feel dumb if they were laughing at me because I did something stupid. So like ever since I was a child, I've been like kicking myself in the butt.
I probably didn't even realize how much I was doing that, but I'm sure I did a lot of the same things. But what really brought the language about the self-deprecating talk was I had a former coworker that I worked with, and she had gotten a new job and she was moving on in her career. And as a parting gift, she had bought a book for a few of us in the office that were close to her. We went to lunch and she gave me that book and it was inscribed and it was beautiful and we were talking about it. And she said, I love you and you're great, but the thing I like least about you is the way that you talk about yourself when you self-deprecate. I don't remember exactly the words that she used, but that has really stuck with me and is one of those things that I've really learned to watch my words and watch the phrases and to say good things about myself instead of bad things.
Right. I feel like we're giving other people permission to laugh at us. We're giving other people permission to talk bad about us. Just the same as, the whole if they're laughing at you or laughing with you, not laughing at you. Like you're saying, it's okay to be like, come on, Charlene, that was a dumb mistake. Because I say it out loud to myself. That's just telling you, it's okay. I'm used to hearing that.
And that's really not okay in any way, right? We treat ourselves way worse than we would ever think about treating someone else. But the thing is nobody can treat you better than you treat yourself,
right.
Which can be a big concept to understand. But we talked about perception a couple months ago, and the perception that you're going to view somebody's words is the lens that you see yourself through. So it doesn't matter what their intent is, you're going to see that in the best light that you see yourself in.
Right.
And there's no way for you to see it differently until you start to have different thoughts about yourself.
Right. I mean, I would never say, oh, good job to my kids and like berate them. That's the wrong word. No, it's the right word. But I would never talk to them like that. I would be like, oh, that's okay. Let's see what we can do. Like, we did that one. Now let's try it this way. But now when I'm talking to me.
Right. You're condescending when you talk to yourself, but you're loving and forgiving when you're talking to your kids. You have to learn to fall down so that you can get back up and learn to walk.
Yep. Let's talk about some phrases that we should not be using when we're talking to ourselves or to other people. I mean, this is a good rule to just speak in general.
It is. And what's really funny is the I should is on this list.
Right.
I should and should not.
Yes.
Which is, one of those really interesting things. But let's back up and kind of start at the beginning. And maybe we'll start with the phrase, I can't. How many of us are guilty of saying, I can't?
Right.
It still comes up in my vernacular, and I've practiced this, and I'm aware of it, and I continuously try to practice it. But somebody calls and says, hey, can you do lunch today? And our response is, oh, I can't. I've got this other commitment. Okay. Great. You can do lunch. You are capable of it. You are choosing to make whatever other commitment you had your priority. Whether that's work, whether that's your kids, whatever it is, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with choosing that other commitment as your priority, but recognizing that you do have a choice is very powerful.
Absolutely. Well, or even when I coached volleyball, which was for 5th and 6th graders, and they were so cute and so tiny, and we would serve the ball like it's practice. Like, you're very young. We're going to grow into this sport, and I can't do it. I can't do it. And little girls at that age are tiny, and it is extremely hard to build up that muscle and just to build up the correct body positions when you're going to do all of that. So every time they said, I can't, they had to run a lap, and they hated me. But I needed them to stop, because just because you've been at practice now for a week and you haven't gotten it doesn't mean you won't do it. You just haven't learned that skill yet. You will get there. You just haven't done it yet.
I love what you just said, that yet, or up until now. You haven't done it up until now. And that's a great way to replace that I can't in other areas of your life. Up until now, I haven't been able to, or I haven't done this yet, is a great way to replace that I can't. If nothing else, you can challenge yourself to replace the words with up until now I haven't, I can, or I choose. Either I choose not to or I choose to, whatever that may be for you. But those three phrases can completely eradicate the use of I can't in your vocabulary.
Exactly. The one that I love the most, and I do it all the time, I'm trying. I'm trying to work on this, or I'm trying, but I don't say it like I'm trying to learn to tie my shoe. I mean, it's not a phrase that I'm using where like I'm learning to do something. I more use it like as a demeaning term to myself. Like, oh, I'm trying to make dinner, but I can't. See, use the word again. I use it in a demeaning way. Let's talk about I'm trying.
Well, I'm trying is a good one, and you did really just kind of hit the nail on the head. But the other thing is, even as you're trying to lose, there's a difference, right? I'm trying to lose weight versus I am losing weight.
Right.
There is a big difference in mindset there. And it sounds like such a small thing because it's just a shift of one word. But one says you are the person that's achieving that. And the other says, I want to be that person, but I'm not.
Right.
And so that mindset and what you're telling your subconscious and what you're telling yourself as you move forward is so important.
Right. I'm trying to make dinner. Realistically, I'm probably putting something frozen in the oven. I'm trying to be a Pinterest mom. Realistically, I'm getting by.
That I'm trying to be a Pinterest mom is absolutely that going back to, well, this is what I want, but I'm not. And if you just say, well, I am a Pinterest mom, because if you take one idea off of Pinterest and you enable it, then you can. Do you know how to take a pen and put it on a piece of paper and write letters in the English language or in the Chinese language or whatever language? But do you know how to do that? Then you are a writer. So instead of trying to be a writer or I'm trying to do this, you are that and you just keep practicing and you will get better at it. But there is nothing preventing you from being that or identifying as that type of person.
Right. Oh, I love that. So I've been like a Pinterest mom for like 3 days. And not recently and not in a row.
Well, I'm a Pinterest mom and all I've done is pin items.
Right.
I don't even know that I've done any. Okay, that's not true. I have done some. It's good. It's good.
Yes. Something else I always say to everybody, and actually you say it too, no problem. No worries. I got this. Like, and it's almost like, instead of like saying you're welcome, or you just say no problem. Like if I said thank you, no problem.
Yes.
It's almost like you can't accept the gratitude that, oh, and not just you. I'm not just saying
no,
you. Like I do
right,
it too.
though.
But
Yep.
I notice you do it when we're talking and I'm like, great, thanks. No problem. Or no worries. I do it. So I see it. I just think that it's really hard sometimes for both of us and for a lot of people to accept that they did something that made somebody else happy, because it's almost like, well, don't put the attention on me. It's not about me. I wanted to do it for you.
It is. That's a really good point. That's a great point. The flip side of that is in the phrase, no problems and no worries, you're focused on problems and worries. Instead of being focused on gratitude or on accepting, you're focusing on problems and worries. So those come from a place of lack and limitation, and we want to come from a place of abundance. So you make a really good point, and there's so many sides of that with the no problems and no worries.
Yeah, there really is. I never thought of it like that either. I need to stop doing both.
Oh, so let's talk about the need to.
See, exactly. Okay. Yes, school me, please.
Well, we say need to, and it feels like a chore.
Right.
We feel like we're putting stuff on our plate. We feel like it's piling up and it's flowing over and we can't keep up with anything. We need to get up and go to work. I need to get home to do this. I need to do that. Oh, I really need to lose some weight. And all of a sudden it's a chore, and we put up our walls and say, no, I'm fine just the way that I am. I need to, but I don't want to. On the flip side of that, I get to, or I am doing is a great replacement for that. Really talking about that. What do you get to do? I get to be a Pinterest mom. I don't need to go look at the stuff, but I get to. I don't need to lose weight. I am just fine the way that I am. I love myself. I'm happy with where I'm at, but I get to go on this journey. I get to learn something. I get to be healthier. Being able to replace some of that can be hugely powerful in mindset and shifting thought processes as well.
I love that, because I say I need to make dinner all the time, and it is a chore. And I do get to make dinner for my family, but realistically, I don't even have to make dinner. I just have to feed them, right?
Oh,
I can go
perfect,
through a drive-through and they're going to be fed, and that's good enough. I shouldn't even say it like that. It's not like it's good enough. It is enough. Like it really is enough that they got a meal that consisted hopefully of some type of vegetable, which sometimes I say a French fry is a vegetable and I know it's not. Oh, but wait, there's lettuce and tomato on a hamburger. So there, I'm good.
But we do. We all get busy and we all get bogged down in this. Well, I need to do this in order to live up to being a good parent or to live up to being a good employee. I need to work 80 hours a week and not see my family in order to make partner, in order to get a promotion, in order to move up the ladder. And really that is not a need. That's something that you're choosing to do. So going back to that, right. I choose to or I choose not to, it's a matter of what you're stating your priorities are.
Feeding them is a priority.
Feeding them is a priority.
Feeding them a 7-course meal every single day doesn't have to be a priority. So,
it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
I know, again, we're going to go back and we're going to talk about money at some point in the future. We definitely want to bring you some stuff on mindset about money. But phrases that are so common are, well, that's cheap. Well, that's really expensive.
Yes.
And that comes from a place of lack and limitation as well.
Absolutely. I just had this conversation. My neighbor and I went out for ice cream with the kids, and don't ask me why. We ended up talking about Starbucks, and I'm like, the only time I take my kids to Starbucks is during happy hour because there's a lot of us, and then I can justify it. But realistically, that $4 drink, I would go through the drive-through at B&G or wherever ice cream is, and I would let them pick out a $5 or $6 ice cream thing. But I don't want them to get a $4 drink because I feel like the drink is expensive, but the ice cream is cheap. And that is really mind-blowing when we had this conversation. They're the same thing. They're both a sugary treat that I should not be giving my kids. I do feed them, just so you guys know, fruits and vegetables and food at home. However, for this podcast, we're just talking about examples. But it just, for whatever reason, that cheap and expensiveness, the drink was expensive at $4 and the ice cream was cheap at $5. Like, that doesn't even, my brain, it was just a mind blown.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that post on Facebook that talks about how $100 on healthy food is expensive, but $100 on a date night is reasonable?
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else has seen it. We'll find it and post it for you and share it out so that you could take a look at it. But that's really all about mindset, right? Where our brains are at, where our thought processes are at, and how we view money. Money is just energy. It is just an exchange of energy. That's all it is. And so putting a number on it is what somebody says the value of it is. And it's not cheap. It's not expensive. It just is.
Right.
And that flows over into, you go to the grocery store and you go shopping and you're doing a comparison and you buy the name brand or you buy the off brand. And if you buy the off-brand, you're buying the off-brand because it's cheaper.
Sometimes it tastes better.
Sometimes it tastes better. Well, that's just the point. Like, what was the value? Was it a good value for what you invested in it? And so I would say that's a good spot to take out the words cheap and expensive and replace them with investment.
Absolutely.
You buy the generic brand because it's a good investment. You're getting a better value for the dollars that you're trading for it, not because it's cheaper. Same thing with clothing stores, right? You go into a clothing store and you choose to buy or not to buy clothing based on the perceived value that you're getting from it, not because the clothes are cheap or expensive. There are times when I might spend $60 on a t-shirt. Might be rare, but there are times when I will do that. But then there are other times when I will look at it and I know that I've used the words, well, that's too expensive, and had that come out of my mouth. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's $60 because just last week I might have spent $60 on a t-shirt. It's that I don't think that the shirt is worth the value, or the value of the shirt just doesn't match the dollar.
And everybody values things so differently. My husband and I are a perfect example of this. We have our family pictures hanging on the wall on one side of our living room. And when we're blessed that my sister-in-law is a photographer too, so she took our pictures and it was beautiful. And I printed them really, really big. Well, I print them at cost. I mean, so when he's like, holy crap, that's so expensive. He used a different word. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's cost. I said, if we were having that hung on our walls, it would probably be a few $1,000s. And he's like, there is no way. I'm sorry, stop trying to talk like him. There's no way I would pay for that. And I'm like, that's really funny because right on the opposite wall of our family pictures is a television that I almost had a heart attack that he dropped the money on it, that he did for his fancy curved television. And I'm like, there's no way. I do not value that at all. I do not see a value in it at all. And he didn't see the value on, not that he does not love our family or that he doesn't want the prints on the walls. Don't think I'm saying that. About that. But that he would have done it differently. He wouldn't have had a canvas put on the wall. He would have had, a print, and he would have found a way to bring it down in price because to him that was so expensive. And they're both in the same, like our house is divided, the family pictures and the TV on the other side. But I think that it is. I mean, everybody has their own value of everything in their life. People that spend thousands of dollars on a purse that they use for 2 weeks out of the year, during that season of wearing it is valuable to them, where to somebody else that has no value.
That's totally a valid point and completely true all the way around. So at this point, I know that we're about at time where we would normally kind of end our podcast and let that go. But I think today we're going to go a little bit longer because we have 2 more very important phrases that we want to discuss with you and we want to share on, because giving you the ways that you can eliminate that lack and limitation, or the language that causes lack and limitation in your life, and replace it with language and verbiage that helps bring you abundance, is so important.
It is. And you guys want to hear us talk more. Admit it.
You know you love us.
I say this a lot. Well, actually, I don't say this a lot. My kids say this a lot. They made me. Did you write that? Yes, but Xander made me. Blah, 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 which then made me do this, do that, and then that broke. No. You were roughhousing when you shouldn't be. You threw the ball in the house when you shouldn't be, whatever it was. And it broke because the ball left your hand. Xander didn't make you throw the ball.
Right. And that's a great example with kids and how that works, and helping kids step in and take responsibility. And as adults, we talk about the way that other people make us feel. They might not have made you do anything physical like throwing a ball, but we say all the time, well, they made me angry. They didn't make you angry. You chose to be angry. You may not know why you chose to be angry, but you did make that choice. And so a great replacement phrase, and we'll talk in a minute about how you can use that, is my experience was. This is the same thing if you go back to one of our earlier episodes when we talked about the Brene Brown special, my experience was, or the story I'm telling myself is. Both of those can be a great shift to they made me. The story I'm telling myself is this, therefore I felt. So that's...
Even with kids too, teaching them like, I really wanted to play ball, so I threw the ball in the house. Like, it's okay to want to do something, so you did it. I mean, it's not okay to break the rules. It's not what I'm saying. But again, acknowledging their feelings too, the same way. Your experience was, my perception was, they have feelings. You wanted to play, I mean, I cannot see my 7-year-old being like, my experience was I had this urge to throw the ball. But along those same lines, remember that, teaching them too. Exactly what you said.
How to stand up and take responsibility for their feelings.
Yes.
We could get on a soapbox about that. I'll try really hard not to. We'll save that for a soapbox episode. But the way that as society, we have been taught to suppress our feelings, it's a whole lot easier to point the blame at somebody else rather than step up and take responsibility for the experience that we're having. We really are the creators of our own experience. So whatever you're experiencing, it is a direct result of the thoughts that you're thinking. And if you don't like the experience that you're having, the first step is to change the thoughts you're having about it. Mm-hmm. So changing the language of they made me to my experience was, or the story I'm telling myself is, can be life altering.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the last ones, always and never. I always say always. And it's not true. It's not always. When I say, oh, I always need a Dr. Pepper. Nope, I don't always need it. It's just a word. I use it almost as like a filler word, but then my brain's like, wait, you said you need a Dr. Pepper. Where's your Dr. Pepper? And then I have to get a Dr. Pepper. Yes. So I'm telling myself that I need it, and I don't.
Always and never, you're right. What you're doing is you're putting yourself into a box.
Yes.
That I can't do this. Like, I never do this means I can't. You associate it the same way, and that's not true. Maybe 98% of the time you don't, but maybe 2% of the time you do. And that 2%, you give yourself credit for it, and it can go to 3%, and it can go to 4%. Mm-hmm. And the I always do something, we can talk about good habits, we can talk about bad habits, but we are not always and never people. We might have habits, we might forget to do things, we might remember to do things, but really taking it down and thinking of a specific person, a specific number, a specific incident, a specific thought that we had is a much better approach to arguments that you may be having, to disagreements that you may be having, to discussions, to allowing yourself grace and compassion and being able to fall down and get back up again. Having those specific examples can be hugely helpful in that, rather than thinking that because something is normal, that it always happens or never happens.
Right. Right. I need to give myself grace. I say it all the time. I never drink water. I always drink Dr. Pepper. That's not true. I have water today. But I say that, but it's just the way that my brain is. And it's exactly it. I need to give myself some grace because it's not always and it's not never. It's a learning process. So I love it when we talk about things like this. I feel like even when we are having the conversation and it's being recorded, like these little light bulbs are going off and I need to like take notes for myself.
I know, me too. You were saying some stuff way back at the beginning. I'm like, that wasn't my perception of that. But that's great. Right. So I love it. I think we get I get just as much out of it as hopefully all of you guys out there are getting out of it. And as far as that goes, those are really the main ones that we wanted to talk about today. And next week, we're really going to dive more into the language that we use, and we'll really kind of dive into Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, and talk about those. I think we're super excited for that.
Yes, we are. So we were going to go ahead and put a link to the book in. So in case you have the opportunity to read the book, because it is such an easy read and you're going to want to be doing it with everybody that you love. Hold on, take this quiz with me.
Yes.
We'll put the link in so that you can go ahead and get a jump start on that. And then we will talk about it next week for sure. And it's not just going to be a book discussion, but
how it applies to our lives, because had some major revelations over the last few years.
Yes. It's crazy how you read the book and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
So
stay tuned for next week and we will talk to you then. And the journey's not over. Make sure that you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest content and episodes.
We love each and every one of you in our tribe, and we want to celebrate your successes alongside you. Share them with us at ACS Podcast on Facebook.